listening to The Flickcast, a podcast about stuff nerds love. I am Chris Ulrich, and joining me, of course, my co-host extraordinaire, Joe Dilworth. Hello, Joe.
You keep putting me on a pedestal, man.
High enough to look under your skirt.
I don't know.
No, that's terrible. I shouldn't say that.
Well, it's a kilt, but sure.
Is it a utilikilt? Because those are cool.
Yes.
Those are cool.
Yes.
I always wanted a utility. Who did I see that had one of those? Did you ever watch a show called The Screensavers? Okay.
No.
It was a show with Leo Laporte and this guy, what was his name? Patrick Norton. Patrick Norton always wore a utilikilt. Not always, but he wore a kilt a lot of times. It was on Tech TV, and they talk about computer shit and do all kinds of nerdy stuff. It was funny. It was a funny show.
Anyway. I bought a utilikilt from the store in Seattle. And so here's the funny thing, and then we'll get past this.
Please.
But so you go in, and of course you got to try on the utilikilt to make sure it fits, right? But they don't have any changing rooms, so they're like, "Oh yeah, you need to try it on. Hold on." And the guy comes back with this blanket and kind of holds it up in front of you, and between you and the rest of the store, and then you try it on. Well, it's pretty great.
I mean, if you're a true Scotsman, you wouldn't wear anything under your kilt, right? So
right,
I'm
exactly.
Just saying, but you could probably wear underwear if you were just trying to.
Yes,
or a pair, or a
it's
pair of shorts. You just try it on over your shorts, but.
Well, you could. I didn't wear shorts that day, though. So,
well, that was your mistake, I guess.
Yes, exactly. But it's just kind of funny where they're like, "Oh yeah, hold on."
Well, they don't have.
They're like, "All right, go ahead."
Space for dressing rooms. They got kilts everywhere. So.
And he's looking at you straight in the eye while you're doing it.
Yeah, he's looking at you, going, just glances down. He's going, yeah.
He's like,
what you packing there, buddy? Nothing.
He's like, you need a small utilikilt.
You need an extra small, sir. I'm so sorry. This is not. I'm sorry. You can't buy this. You're not manly enough.
No, that's not going to work.
This is not going to work for you. You perhaps need a skirt of some sort. No, anyway.
Yes, or maybe
some culottes. I don't know.
A dress.
Well, come on. Yes. This is not cool.
Yeah, we're going off
in a weird direction. Anyway, so on this episode of the Flickcast, we're going to discuss some Boba Fett. We're going to discuss some Expanse, prepping for the finale this week. Maybe make a couple picks, but we're trying to keep this episode a little bit more compact because we know we've been running long, so we're just going to get right to it, even though all evidence to the contrary of this bullshit we just talked about is not going to go. But
we're going to pass the time savings on.
To you. So, all right, jumping in to the Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni opus Boba Fett, or the Book of Boba Fett, I should say, episode 2. In my opinion, Joe, totally redeemed the show. The first episode did not blow me away. The second episode was awesome. So there you go. and done.
Thanks,
mic
everybody.
drop. I'm done. I don't want to drop this mic. It's extra expensive, so I won't do that. But
I agree with you. I mean, we obviously talked about the first episode and our kind of not ambivalence, but kind of like, I'm not really quite sure about this. I mean, obviously I'm going to keep watching it, but I don't know what they're going for here. But second episode, tons better and just a really, really great episode. And I agree, kind of really redeemed and turned around the whole show.
Well, I feel like we talked about last week, if you didn't listen, feel free to go back and listen to it. But that episode was more for, hey, if you've never seen a Boba Fett show, or you don't know who Boba Fett is, or if you've never heard of Star Wars, here's this thing. So it was for the non-true fans. And then
true fans.
It was that last episode was a meeting episode where everyone got together and said, what we really need is a way to introduce the character and show that he's not a bad guy. So if you've only heard of Boba Fett as a bad guy, here he is not being a bad guy. Instead, he's being a good guy, or at least an ambivalent, neutral guy with a code or something. So he's not bad, and you had to show him get out of the Sarlacc pit, of course. And now it's okay to actually get on with the show. So I feel like this. I mean, I don't have any evidence to support this other than just, my feeling about how shows work and experience of how shows work. But I feel like this was probably the first episode, or at least considered as the first episode. But they probably needed one to introduce everything. But this was almost like a different show in some ways. It was so much better and so much more, fan service in a way. But lots of good Easter eggs, too, which we should get to. But it also encompassed one of my favorite films. I really loved the whole Lawrence of Arabia vibe they were giving off, too.
Yeah,
amazing film if you haven't seen it. It's epic, movie from way back in the day. But it's awesome.
One of my favorites.
It's an amazing film. David Lean and Peter.
Beautiful movie.
is the actor playing Lawrence. It's just, yeah, it's great. But
Yep.
and what I loved at the end, they always do the pre-production drawings. They show them at the end credits, and there's definitely the color palette of that scene or that sequence was supposed to be much more closer to, the
Yes.
white robes they were wearing and Lawrence's white robes and everything. Although Boba's still wearing his white through most of this, but yeah, it was great. I love that.
His white jammies.
And then, of course, much to people's surprise, maybe there was some Back to the Future stuff going on. Back to the Future 2 or 3 with the train. So
I will say my biggest takeaway, and we'll definitely get into the details, but my biggest takeaway from this episode is they are spending a lot of money on this show.
yeah,
Because there was a lot going on with like lots of things hovering, a couple huts in there. Yeah, they're spending some money on this, which is really cool. I mean, I know they have the video wall virtual sets that they can do, so they probably save some money that way. But man, there was a lot going, and none of it looked terrible. So they're really doing a great job.
yeah. I mean, you're right. They had a lot of CG. They had the huts. And BK shows up, which I thought was cool. The
Yes.
Wookiee bounty hunter Gladiator is pretty awesome in the freaking Marvel comic Dr. Aphra series. So it's like, are we going to see more of him? Because he's a great character. I totally like him.
He looked awesome in real life. It was like, holy crap,
Yeah.
that's an intimidating Wookiee.
Yeah, which they're already intimidating anyway. But it's like they obviously have a history because Boba obviously knows him. But that was a great scene.
Yep.
And I feel like Boba was sort of, and maybe it's just Tamura Morrison's finding his groove more too. He did his. And I hate to say it, but this episode wasn't directed by Rod Rodriguez, which may have helped it too.
Yeah.
But Favreau wrote it, and it was really well. I mean, it's just there was a lot of great stuff. The whole, Ichuta, all that stuff. It's just there was so many great little whatever you want to call it, Easter eggs or things like that. Of course, the big one that people are all talking about too is where Boba ends up going to get those speeder bikes. Is none other than Tashi Station, right?
Yes, I didn't see any power converters, or maybe we did. I don't know, but
Well, I figure Tashi Station is actually a town, right?
probably
So that was
I think we just saw the
yeah,
bar.
that was the bar where he goes. But it's like, and of course, there's Easter eggs of Luke's pals, right?
Cammy and Fixer. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
And they even recreated the bar was actually in the deleted scene from the very first Star Wars movie that Cammy and Fixer appear in.
right.
But they're still on Tatooine fighting the good fight apparently.
But I love the fact that they don't mention. Fixer's his nickname. His real name is Lays Lonazer or whatever, which is kind of funny.
Yes.
And Kemi Marstrap, which of course in the deleted scene that you can see from New Hope. Oh God, I called it New Hope. Shit. From
did.
Star
You
Wars.
did.
Excuse me. There's a whole thing where Luke is kind of has a crush on Cammy,
Yes.
which I think is adorable. But I wonder why Fixer, didn't seem to be, he didn't seem like he had left Tatooine to go fight in the rebellion like Luke and Biggs. I mean, by this time he should have known that Luke was a hero, right? And maybe if Luke came back, maybe Cammy would give him the time of day now. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, it's a hero
Maybe.
of the Republic. Hello.
Maybe she would be. I mean, because in that deleted scene, Fixer is kind of pawing all over Cammy. So
Yeah.
maybe she'd be like, I'm going to go off with this guy
Well, it's
because
also- yeah, it's
he's an actual hero, and he's probably not going to like be trying to kiss me every 2 seconds.
He kissed his sister. That's the most action he's had, probably, which is weird, but.
Well, that's
awkward.
true.
But I love the fact that they kept the 70s haircuts too, which was amazing. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that was
that's the
nice.
funny thing about deleted scenes from shows or from movies, especially. It was cut out for a reason. Obviously, it slows everything down, but it does give you a little bit more backstory with Biggs. I mean, Luke mentions Biggs, and then of course he runs into him, and it's Biggs, And then they go off, and Biggs gets killed. Spoilers if you haven't seen Star Wars. But I would imagine that Marsha probably said, "You know what? That scene's got to go, George. We don't need that." And George's like, "Whatever you say, honey," because she knows best.
Yep.
So
She does. She's a
fantastic editor.
so
Yeah, it was cut for a reason, obviously, but it was pretty funny though, and that's just a great Easter egg to see. But yeah, we don't get to see the power converters, which is kind of a bummer. And his and her huts was great.
Yes. That was kind of freaky, but
And they talk about Kessel, they talk about Mustafar and Camino, they talk about all that stuff.
and even more obscure, the scene where Boba makes his gaffy
Yeah,
stick with the Sand People. That whole set is from a pre-production Ralph McQuarrie painting
that's right. That
that
whole
was never
curved,
used.
whatever that ship,
Yes.
whatever skin or whatever it is. Yeah, I still have that Star
Yeah.
Wars sketchbook in my other room in there. But
Yeah, so I would say that Filoni and Favreau definitely know their Star Wars lore and greatly enjoy peppering things with Easter eggs and callbacks and things like that. And it's, even more the better for us. I mean, if you didn't know that that was from a painting and you didn't know who Cammy and Fixer were, it doesn't take
no,
away. It's not like that scene rests on you knowing who they are, which is fine. So,
no, it doesn't at all. But you know that Favreau, in particular, I mean, imagine Dave Filoni too, but you just know Favreau is like a gigantic fanboy of Star Wars, and
oh, yeah.
so a fan man, I guess, at this point. But that's the difference between someone like him and J.J. Abrams, for example. It's like he loves the world and everything, and knows it intimately and cares about doing a good job and doing it justice. JJ, it was just a job. Like he even admitted,
Right, right.
I'm not I'm not a Star Trek fan. I don't care, but he did a decent Star Trek movie, I thought. But
He said he was a big Star Wars fan, but it's like you didn't make a Star Wars movie, though.
yeah,
What? So I don't really understand.
and we don't need to get into
Sure,
you
sure.
know a comparison between Boba Fett and and whatever. But yeah, it's like that's the difference I think between this and Favreau and Filoni are just like we love this stuff and we know that this is the kind of thing that because we're fans, we would watch a show like this and that comes out
Yes.
that the love is there, you can tell, and the reverence for what came before, and the sort of I hate to keep using the word fan service because that sounds like a negative, but it's like here's the things that all the nerds are looking for because we would be looking for the same shit, and so we're
Yeah,
going to put that in there.
exactly.
So, but yeah, I love the fact that the guy who with the DP of this episode was the guy who shot Back to the Future and Back to the Future 2 and 3 actually, or maybe 2 and 3, but because of
Yeah.
course in the third one there's the whole train sequence. So there was a lot of that,
Yes.
a lot of Lawrence of Arabia. I mean, this show is definitely, as with Mandalorian, there's a lot of Western, which I love Westerns. So it's just,
So yeah, I don't know what was going on with Robert Rodriguez because his second episode just even looked a lot
yeah.
better and was shot a ton better. So I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Well, I
But
guess Steph Green is just a better director. She does a better. I mean,
I
she's got a lot of great
guess.
credits. I mean, he does too, I guess.
Sure.
But she's done a lot of episodes of a lot of things like Watchmen, Luke Cage, and the Book of Boba Fett. Strange enough, but yeah, she's definitely. I mean, I would say Watchmen. If you haven't seen Watchmen on HBO, it's really quite good. I was skeptical about that, but it turned out to be amazing. The direction in that was excellent, and I thought that there's a difference between. I mean, you can definitely see a difference between good directing and good, good staging of action. Actors giving certain business and getting to do that, and the
Yeah.
performances are better. And it's just, yeah. I mean, Robert Rodriguez is not a terrible director. His stuff is just different. His aesthetic is different. His sort of style of what he's looking for is different. And so I'm kind of saying that the first episode was weak, and it was just like that's how you want to. I was concerned that that's how you're going to present the show, and that's the first thing that people are going to be experiencing. I would have started with this
Yeah.
episode, man. But anyway,
They could have almost like given both episodes to her and made like a 2-hour premiere or something.
yeah, definitely.
I think that would have worked better if you kind of combined the stories into 2 episodes. Although I don't know what the structure is of the rest of the episodes. I'm guessing that we're going to get a combination of quote unquote present day as well as his journey
Well, yeah.
amongst the Tusken Raiders.
Well, this is obviously it's before he meets up with the Mandalorian, right? So, because this is his
Yes,
ascent
yeah.
in the Sand People or the Tuscans in their society, and him, building making his gaffy stick, and sort of, finally getting his robes and getting out of those tattered white clothes and everything, and going through his trial of having the lizard go up his nose, which I thought was funny. But yeah, there was a lot in this episode. I mean, it packs a lot in, and he finds kind of like a family. So you got to think that the Tuscans are going to show up at some point later.
Yes.
When he's like his back's against the wall,
They'll be like his
fighting
army and enforcers.
fighting the Hutts, and look for them on at dawn on the third day or whatever, and whatever Gandalf says. I can't remember in Lord of the Rings, but in the two towers. But they'll come out of the rising sun or whatever, and they'll just swoop in. And I just wonder, and we should move on from Boba in a minute probably, but I just wonder if, since they're going to such trouble to humanize the Tuskens, obviously, because they were always like the Tusken Raiders and this and that, and they destroyed, Anakin's mom or whatever, and then he had to kill them all and shit. And they do make a case of like, these are all, there's different tribes of Tuskens, they're not all the same.
Yeah, a lot of them kill.
Right. And, I wonder if we'll finally see them unmasked at all.
I know. I mean, I know there is, like, in the Legacy novels and in the comics, there are appearances of them unmasked, and they kind of were ambivalent about it in certain ways, like, oh, well, not all of us are the same species and stuff like that. But yeah it'd be because apparently, I guess the Tuskens are the kind of along the lines of the Mandalorian. Once you put your mask and your robes on, you don't take them off for anybody. But
well, obviously, Boba doesn't have that problem, but yeah. And Din Djarin doesn't have that problem either. But
well,
eventually, although it took two seasons practically to get his helmet off, or I guess at the end of the first
it'll
season.
Be interesting. But yeah, I'm with you. It would be interesting to see if they unmask any of the Tusken Raiders.
Well, somebody made a joke. We were in one of my, in one of my D&D groups or whatever. Like, this is what the Tuskens look like, and he showed some picture of some statuesque blonde Icelandic princess or something like that with like perfect features. Like, yeah, they've just been hiding there. They're all like super beautiful or something. But
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, are those like breathing apparatus? I mean, they obviously, are they alien or
they have to be. They've got to be able to eat and drink through them.
Right. No, but I'm just wondering if they're obviously humanoid, and they're obviously like carbon based. They're not, whatever. Yes. So they could look.
They're bipeds.
Yeah. So they could look vaguely human, but they're just, I don't know. I'd kind of be interested, but maybe it's one of those mysteries we don't have to solve, or maybe it's something that'll happen at the end.
Yes.
But I love. Such a night and day difference, literally almost, between the two episodes. Is like the first one was, weak and kind of stumbling and poorly directed, and I was concerned about the show. I was like, this is what we're gonna get. Well, I'll still watch it because I love Boba Fett and I love Star Wars, but so much happier with the second one. So thank you for.
Yeah, I will say, after the first episode, we even talked about, hey, maybe they probably should have made this show centered on Fennec instead of Boba Fett, but I think it redeemed it. And it's like, I don't know, they even worked together better in the second episode. It was just like,
it could be, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, as you know. Maybe it's just they were getting in their groove. I don't think Ming-Na needs to, she can hit the ground running, but maybe Tamara Morrison was struggling with the character or something. I don't know. Who knows? Or those were the takes that Robert Rodriguez liked, and he likes a different kind of aesthetic. Like I said, he likes a different aesthetic. He's more of like a grindhouse kind of whatever, and that doesn't necessarily fit. And funny, I was thinking about Mandalorian episodes and the ones that he directed, although cool. The one where Boba Fett obviously shows up is a great episode, but it still had that same kind of feel to it. It felt sort of, the word I was thinking of was like stilted almost, like the action was not as good as it could have been. But this was a lot better. So anyway, of course we'll keep watching, and I'm definitely curious to see where it goes. But
so do you think Dr. Aphra will show up?
I don't know. Maybe. We got BK, so maybe we can get Aphra too. I would like to see Boba and BK fight. I think that would be awesome. But I think
that would be pretty interesting.
I think BK would probably win, but
although
it's called the Book of Boba Fett. But
well, that's true. So I guess he can't win.
But I wouldn't mess with him. He seems tough, but.
Or maybe Boba brings him around to his side, or something.
Well, that could be. Yeah, at the end of the first season, it's Fennec and BK standing next to him. It's like, wow,
that would be pretty badass.
No one will mess with you. It is mine now.
No.
I will rule with respect, or my Wookiee will destroy you. So,
exactly. Respect me, or you'll get torn limb from limb.
Yes. Wookiees tear people's arms off when they lose. So
yes, exactly.
It's cool, but I just I'm just happy that we have more shows, honestly, and I'm happy to keep watching whatever. I'm still skeptical about Obi-Wan, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
It's Star Trek and Star Wars are kind of the same. They just seem to work better serialized as on TV as opposed to movies.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the Star Trek movies to me still always, even with the reboot Abrams ones, they were fun, but Star Trek movies, especially with original cast from Next Gen and the old series, still felt like just like
Another big episode.
Double episodes, basically.
Well, I mean,
it was like,
yeah, I mean, that's the problem. That's the thing between movies and TV shows, right? I mean, in a TV series, you get maybe even years to develop characters. So by the time we got to Next Generation movies, we knew these characters really well. And, and you got a couple of seasons to develop The Mandalorian, and you've got, I mean, how much screen time did Boba Fett get in Empire and in Return of the Jedi? Maybe 12 minutes or 10 minutes at the most?
Right, exactly.
So
exactly.
Here's this iconic character whose really only redeeming thing in the movies is that he got, treated like shit and got killed for a joke. And so they, they brought him back because of that. It's like, we're gonna correct this injustice, damn it. And
yes,
and so, but I'm glad they did. So, I mean, it's just we love science fiction stuff too, which brings us, of course, to our next topic of discussion, which is bittersweet, obviously, but it's just I'm talking about The Expanse, of course. It's just sad in a way that it's ending, but it's also terrific that we've got so much great stuff up to this point, and I just don't know. The thing I love about this the most is I'm still not 100% sure how it's going to end. And that's cool to me. He's like, I don't know what's going to happen. But I do know that it was a great build up to the scene with Avasarala and Drummer meeting in person. It's like, can the belt and the inners work together? I guess we'll find out. I mean, it's like the power in that scene. And we were talking about this in the sort of pre-show about how Kara G's character Drummer has come so far from being like a guest star for a couple of episodes to being like a major belter force. I mean, she's like, a big deal. Yeah. And these two strong women are just like, and I think that's great. That's one of the great things about this show is they've always had Avasarala be so strong and so, single-minded in her purpose to defend the Earth, but also willing to compromise. Because when you first meet her, she's kind of bad, right? I mean, she's torturing that belter.
She's not very nice.
No, she's torturing the guy. I mean, and forcing him to get information. She's willing to do whatever's necessary. And in some way, I'm sure she feels like some of that action is what has caused the situation they're in now.
Well, she talks about that in the penultimate episode, that the way she references that scene in particular and how, that was wrong. And, I did what I had to do, but, she regretted it. And it was like,
well, it's like, she did what she had to do because she thought she had to protect Earth at all costs. And that was the most important thing. And now it's like, we can extend that to other humans because the belters are humans, right? Even though they're, obviously in the books, they all look like that one guy, right? But because of the lower gravity, but it's like, we're all together on this. Plus, as Holden seems to like to point out, it's like there's this other thing going on that you guys should pay attention to, which is kind of a big deal. I don't know if you're aware.
It's like kind of affects us all. I even loved, Holden was like, we should tell Marcos, and she's like, no way in hell, and he's like, we should because people are going to die, and he needs to understand that we have something that's bigger than all of this. And maybe that will end this.
Well, maybe that's,
As it turns out, it's not going to because Marcos is a dick. But
and we were actually, we had talked about how his son was going to maybe take him out, but now it seems like he's kind of turned the corner maybe to do that. But the other surprising character, not surprising necessarily, but the other kind of cool character, I think, is Kathleen Robertson's character, sort of weaving her web in power, like staying close to power, but not, but sort of working behind the scenes. I think she's turned out to be pretty cool.
I expect her to be the one to take out Marcos and be like, "Oh, he met a tragic accident from the inners, and we need to avenge him." Because I think she's getting kind of tired of him.
Well, she is. Yeah, but she's. I mean, she's like, she's manipulating him at this point. I think he's just too stupid. But he's a figurehead, right? And so they need a figurehead. They need a whatever. But then he could be better as a martyr, perhaps. But I don't know how they're going to end the show, and maybe that'll be how they end it. I don't know. Maybe she'll end up taking him out. But I love the fact that Holden has been like this optimistic person for the entire series. and still believes in humanity. It's like, like you said, we got to tell him, it's like he believes it.
He still wants to do the right thing.
And Amos is like questioning, what is my purpose out here? and then Bobby, we should just go fuck instead, which I appreciate.
He's like, do you want to join me? She's like, join you or join you? And he's like,
whatever.
Whatever. Yeah, and she's kind of like,
yeah, why not? I mean, I don't know how long it's been since Bobby got laid, but it's probably been quite a while. So,
yeah, I did like, I liked Amos's because Wes Chatham is just fantastic on the show. But I liked his little crisis of faith, and she was the best person for him to run into because she's like, you got to stay by your family and the people you love, and he's like, you're absolutely right. And he's like, okay, and problem solved.
That's a function that oh boy, I forgot her character's name. Well, Naomi would have performed before, but now we've got Bobby. So I'm just glad to see them all together finally, which is the way it should be. But I mean, you're right. Amos is questioning whether he should be doing what he's doing, but he has faith in Holden. But he doesn't understand Holden sometimes, which is good because in family dynamics, right, you don't always necessarily understand what's happening or agree with it. But at the end of the day, you stick together. And that's, I think, what Amos has found, that he's got this thing that we talked about Amos a lot actually on the show, but he's finally got this thing that makes him feel better. And for a moment, he's like, well, what are we doing? But then, I mean, yeah, you're right. She was the exact right person for him to run into. You just you leave with the people you came with, you just stick with everybody. So, but I don't know what's going to happen at the end, and I'll be, it'll be bittersweet for sure. But the build up has been extraordinary. I'm not sure how they're going to weave in that whole, this squirrel brings people back to life thing too, which I thought was.
And your brother's got proto matter eyes.
Your brother's
now, but he's alive again.
He's got glowy eyes. Yeah. This reminds me of that old school Star Trek episode where the guy gets like powers and then they have to destroy him. Like Kirk has to.
That was in the second. pilot.
Kirk has to, where no man has gone before. Where Kirk has to battle his buddy on the planet and makes a whole rock fall on him or something.
James R. Kirk instead of James.
Yeah, good old
Kirk,
James R. Whoever that guy was, but. But yeah, and Sally Kellerman also has power, and they have to like fight. And anyway,
they have those glowy eyes.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that James S.A. Corey has watched OG Star Trek before.
I'm sure. Yeah,
I'm
sure both of them have.
They're fans of. Fans of Star Trek.
I don't know how they're going to wrap this all up in one episode as well.
One 45-minute, 50-minute episode. Yeah, I
don't see how that's going to happen.
Well, obviously they won't.
My other big observation, especially from this season, as you pointed out earlier, is Kamina fucking Drama.
Yeah,
she's just awesome, and she was even. You're right. She's like just clawed her way up. I mean, there was even a few seasons back when she and Ashford were trapped in the loading bay on that ship, and it was like if either one of us gets free, the other one will die. Mm-hmm. And up until that point, Ashford was like, I don't believe in her. I'm going to take over and all this stuff. And she like won him over just in that conversation they had. And after that, he was like drummer all the way, and they became best pals. And just her kind of like influence on people through the course of the series. She was kind of like the Belter version of Holden. It's like, I'm going to do right by my people. And I do see that there's a bigger picture that things that affect Earth and Mars also affect the belt. And if we, just react in a negative way and just fight and stuff, we're gonna get eliminated and we're gonna die. And she just has always been one of my favorite characters on the show.
Well, she's very practical. It's good to see her, which I appreciate. Yeah. Belters are practical people, and she's very practical and very pragmatic. She's like, you know what? Inaros is an idiot, and he's going to get people killed, and more people are going to die if we, if he's allowed to keep going. So I will, take the lesser of two evils, I guess. And
well, just like that, I'm going to publicly call him out now. Enough of this.
Die
shit.
Like a little bitch, why don't you? And it's just like and it's like, I'm going to make the deal with Avasarala, with the Inners, and we got to work together to face the greater threat. But maybe it'll be like, the aliens will finally come and say, no, all the missiles will just like stop in mid-motion, and everyone will just freeze, and they'll be like, nope, sorry, we won't allow you to fight anymore. You're destroying the universe with your stupidity. learn to work together, motherfuckers. No, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
What's going to happen? Maybe, I don't know. I mean, what they're building up something with the proto molecule, with the aliens, and that we were in that city from last season, or was that like
Yeah,
what's going to
yeah.
happen with them? Holden had his visions, and I wonder if they'll bring back. Probably not. They probably won't bring back.
I'm still holding out hope that Miller shows up for
He'll
one
just
last hurrah.
hat tip to Holden at the end. That'll be it, right?
I'm just saying that Thomas Jane directed at least one episode this season, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that they could have filmed some kind of
Sure. Spectral Miller will show up
for
with what's her face, and they'll just like walk off in together because
Yeah, with Carissa Mao or whatever. No, what's that?
Julie?
Chris's Peaches.
Julie Mao.
Julie Mao. Yes.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. Yeah. And Amos and Peaches will be together, maybe, or he'll be with Bobby. Who knows? Maybe Bobby and Amos will just like take off and go on adventures or something. But
that would be the great spin-off.
I would
show.
watch that show. I watch that.
I would totally watch that. They go off and do. They run missions for Avasarala. That would.
They do that, and then they get back and they get drunk and fuck. And that's the show.
There you go. That's every episode. I would totally. I'd watch 10 seasons.
We're back from the mission. Let's get naked.
Yeah, exactly. I would totally watch like 10 or 15.
Yeah, I don't know why people were like giving. I don't know. People didn't like her as Bobby. I don't know. I think it's stupid. I think she does a great job, and
I think the character was described differently in the books.
God!
I'm just like, well, I mean, really, that's going to be your complaint because she's A, phenomenal in the role, and B, it's like, well, yeah, characters are, they're obviously committed to hiring the best actors for the roles, and they're probably going to differ somewhat from the books.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how she's described in the book because I have not read the books. I'm waiting for the show to be done. And I'm going to go back and start them.
Same here. Yes,
but we were talking about this also in the pre-show. But we're talking about performances. But it's amazing to watch a show like this where even I want to say smaller parts, but even the smaller, lesser roles, maybe the ones with a couple of lines, are still they cast so well, and the people who perform these roles are still, so good. Like the reporter, or like the guy who gets his arm crushed, does a great job, and his girlfriend. Like there's a whole scene with her and Drummer. It's like, damn, there's like real emotion here, and it's all right.
And they started off the season with because they're part of Drummer's family. Mm-hmm. Apparently they don't. Well, the same thing with Holden, because he talks about what he's got like 8 parents,
right.
And all that kind of stuff. And the future is a little less prudish, but Drummer had this whole family. Some of them have been killed off, and these 2 are like her last. But they start off the season with recognizing that this wasn't the place for the one girl, right. and she. That total background character, and she just had this great arc throughout the season, and she's like, I'm going to stay with him and I'm going to make sure he's okay. And she came into her own, and it was like, even that was just a nice little touch. They didn't have to do that, and they did, and it was great.
Well, I think the other thing you do as a show is winding up is you give people, I mean, if you can, you give people closure, but you also give actors that have been in the show for a long time. You give them a little bit more meat, right? You give them a little more stuff to do, to let them. It's like, I gotta find another job now. So here's some nice meaty stuff, some nice scenes, some scene work for you. Especially if they're cool and you like them and whatever. If you can, you give them more to do. So maybe that's why Drummer's getting, Cara G's getting more to do, because everyone knows Avasarala. She's been around forever and is an amazing actress. So she'll work again, I'm sure. And Holden's the lead, and so whatever.
Yeah.
I like the fact that they've elevated these sort of lesser, not I don't want to say lesser, but minor characters to higher levels and given them stuff to do.
Even the dude who was trying to find out what happened to his brother in series that got thrown in the jail. I mean, that was such a great performance. And to me, again, though, the unfortunate thing is there's a ton of great actors in the show, and I still think Marcos is the weakest of the lot. But I think this season, I think maybe that's the point, to show that he is really just all talk, and like what's her name is really running everything behind the scenes. I mean, she gets his approval. She's like, we should do this. And he's like, yeah, that makes sense. So he's really just kind of this ineffective fop, really. That's just like the smiley, pretty face.
Right.
And, she's really getting things done. And I still think it's going to come to a point where he realizes this has gone way too far and way out of my control. And I don't know what to. Maybe he kind of did that in this last episode,
Maybe.
but
And she's going to be standing there behind him with a knife and sticking it in his back and go, you know what, man? I'm just tired of your shit. Shut up.
Yeah. Or, it's like, hey, we've lost. And she's like, great, I'm taking us both out.
No, I think she lives, honestly. She was too smart to die. So she's going to escape or whatever, or get captured or just like take off. But Marcos is going to get spaced. That's the thing.
He's going to get squished, and Philip is definitely done with him at this point. It looked like he was going to come back around, but I think he's like, what?
There's a lot of there's a lot of threads. They've been building to a lot of stuff. I still think it's aliens who are going to intervene because Holden's saying it's like there's bigger things going on here. There's something going on with the gate or whatever you call it.
And there's still proto-molecule
out there doing stuff, and it's like they're gonna just go, you know what, enough is enough. No more of this.
I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
It's aliens. Well, it was aliens already, right? So,
well, yeah, that's true.
I mean, the proto-molecule could be aliens. We don't know. But yeah, I've seen, as you have, I'm sure, I've seen a fuck ton of sci-fi shows over the years, and I would put The Expanse in the top 5 probably. It's just.
Easily,
it's just that good. I'm not saying it's the best show I've ever seen in my life, but it's pretty up there. It's consistently good and consistently well written, and the characters are well realized, and it's just it cleverly overcomes a lot of things. Like unfortunately, the loss of a cast member, which had to be fixed, but they overcame that, and they still. What I like about it is they don't just never mention him again. It's like you can't just not mention Alex ever again. He was an integral part of the crew, and his name's on the plaque and everything. So they talked about him a little bit, and then they move on because people die, but they're still kind of in mourning a little bit. I think of him, and which makes sense.
I think so. I think you can honor the character,
right?
And even without the actor being there, because the character was such an integral part of the story, and. Spoiler, lives in the books, apparently doesn't die like that.
Well no, he didn't have to.
Right. So I think it's totally fine to honor the character and dismiss the actor.
Well, that was the only way you could do it. It's like you're not going to recast the character or the role. You're just he had to go, and so there was no way for him to come back either. It's like this guy's done, this character's done in the story, and. Although there is a proto-molecule, Alex could come back in a different form, an elevated human, whatever, alien.
He comes back as Miller.
Human hybrid form or something. I don't know. But
there you go.
Whatever.
There you go.
It could happen. They're probably not going to do that. But it's just.
No, I don't think so.
They handled it well. And obviously, I keep saying obviously. I'm a fan of good writing, as you are, I know. And so, and you can see bad writing. You can tell it. You can see it. And this has excellent writing. I mean, it helps that it's based on books, which obviously are very, God, I said obviously again, which are very well plotted out and everything. And so that helps a lot. But it's just very clever and very smart and very well done. And the characters are excellent. And the performances, the whole thing is just a great show. And so I'm very happy that we've had this time to watch it. And I'm bummed that it's done. But whatever.
I think the huge key to this being as well done as it is they involved James S.A. Corey as part of the staff of the show, and I think they wrote quite a few episodes as well. So I think if you're going to do something like this and it's something well regarded, that it's probably a good idea to include, especially if you're going to change things, include the people that wrote it or the person that wrote it and make them part of the process. And I think that paid off well for The Expanse.
I'm sure there's a story about how James S.A. Corey name came up. I'm sure they've told it before. I just don't remember what it is. But it's actually, like you said,
I think there is
2 guys, Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank. Ty Frank also does the podcast with Wes Chatham about The Expanse too, if people want to listen to that.
Yep.
Which is a good podcast. Actually, it's pretty funny. But because what's interesting is Wes Chatham is actually a funny dude. Amos is less funny. He's a little more serious.
He's a little more serious.
But Wes Chatham is actually a funny guy. But it's just it helps. You're right. It helps to have the authors involved, And it pays off unless you're George R. R. Martin, and then whatever. But and then it takes you anyway.
Yeah.
I feel bad for George R. R. Martin though. I got to be honest, because now nothing that he comes out with people are going to like. It's just like you waited way too long. The expectations are too big. Now you've basically fucked yourself. So.
The show's already ruined the ending of your books, even if they are different.
There's always going to be a stink on Game of Thrones now. But anyway.
Yep.
But yeah, The Expanse is just, I'm bummed, man.
If you haven't watched it, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, seriously. If you love sci-fi, I always use the word hard sci-fi, but it's not, it is, they do the physics thing, but there's still sound in space. So it's like, it's not perfectly perfect. But
it's great.
But and the other thing that's great about it too is the world building, and you believe that these factions exist, and you believe that these people are doing what they are doing because of their beliefs and because of where they live, and this whole thing has history and a gravitas, I guess, if you want to call it that. It seems real. Obviously, it's not real, but it seems real.
Well, yeah.
Although we don't know, there could be people living in the asteroid belt. We don't know, and there could be proto-molecular aliens. We don't know that either. But
the universe feels lived in. It's not this bright, shiny. It's like, do they have something that cleans the starships every day because they're always nice and bright and shiny? It's like it looks lived in. The ships are. I don't know,
the Rocinante seems kind of beat up a little bit at this point, but.
Right. The ships are dinged. Even interiors aren't perfect. So it's it's just really exceptional world building. Yeah. Great characters, great actors, fantastic direction. Just well done all around. But
yeah, so definitely watch it if you haven't. Now that it's all going to be available, you can binge the entire thing.
Yep.
It's on Amazon, so not everybody wants to pay for Amazon. But I guess I should be happy that it didn't end and that Amazon picked it up, because it could have just been done then. So I should be happy for the 2 extra seasons, or the 2, whatever seasons that we got.
Be happy they were able
I'm happy they were able to
complete the story.
You could say that it was sort of, you could have ended it, but I'm definitely happy that we got more. And
absolutely.
This episode comes out soon, but it'll definitely be out before the finale, so we'll definitely have to talk about the finale when
we will.
Happens,
yeah, so. For sure.
Okay. Well, that's a nice shorter episode. Maybe should we pick stuff? Maybe or
let's go ahead and pick. So I've got something to pick.
All right. Do you want to go first? Then I don't mind.
Yeah, sure. I'll go first.
Age before beauty.
I'm going to pick. I don't know how that works out, because
you're beautiful.
I don't know that I have either one. Well, I do have the old age. That's for sure. Feel that every morning.
Speak up.
Anyway,
I can't hear you.
What? Let me get my ear comb thing.
Your big
trumpet.
Big ear trumpet. Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, I'm going to pick a movie that's on Amazon Prime, sticking with Amazon. It's an Amazon original. It's called Encounter. And it actually came out back in December, and it was one of those that I'm like, I should check that out. And I don't want to say too much about it, but it's a story about a U.S. Marine that is played by Riz Ahmed. He played was it Bodhi in Rogue One?
But yeah, he also did that that movie Sound of Silence or whatever it is, where he's like a musician, the drummer who's going deaf, which is a really good movie if you haven't watched it. But he's really good. He's
such a good actor.
I saw Encounter also. I really enjoyed it actually. So
yeah. So Encounter is interesting. U.S. Marine. He kidnaps his 2 sons from their mother and their father-in-law because he is convinced that the world is being invaded by alien bugs, and he wants to protect them. And he's pretty sure that their stepdad has been infected and taken over, and that other people they encounter as they go. And it's I don't know. I really liked it. I thought it was a well-crafted movie, and it had a satisfying resolution, and I just thought it was really well done. I greatly enjoyed it. I really like sometimes some straight out dramas and thrillers, and this was good. And there was well, I won't say too much more about it.
So. No, you can't really say a lot without giving it away. There's definitely some good twists, and I enjoyed it. Actually, I thought it was well done. and fun. One of those like unexpected kind of things. Like, what is this about? Encounter, and the poster is him in the desert with the two kids like walking around. He's like holding,
Right.
pretending to have a rifle or
Yeah.
whatever. So, but yeah, it was cool. I enjoyed it, and it hits some interesting some interesting takes on things, and it was good. It's definitely
Yeah,
worth
it
watching.
says makes some statements about some things going on in the world
Yeah,
today,
exactly,
and
exactly,
how we treat soldiers
exactly. Well,
and things like. Again, I don't want to
before
say
we
too
get in
much.
trouble, Marines are not soldiers, Joe. I'm sorry to tell you.
Oh, sorry.
Marines are
Okay,
Marines. Soldiers are
apologize.
soldiers.
I apologize.
How
Okay,
dare
all
you,
right.
sir?
Fine, fine, fine.
How dare you?
I know.
And sailors are
I'm so
sailors,
sorry.
and people in the Air Force are airmen.
Okay,
That
fine.
is your military
Fine.
jargon, whatever lesson for today. My pick this week
Anyway.
is, I don't know if great is enough of a strong word. It's an amazing show on HBO Max called Station 11.
I've heard
I
about
have
this.
I've watched a lot of shows, as you have, and I cannot remember the last time that I was this sort of transfixed by a show.
Ah, okay.
It's based on a novel by an author named Emily St. John Mandel. The premise is it's post-apocalyptic, and there's a group of people who get together, and they're called the Traveling Symphony, and they go around performing Shakespeare. Basically, they have musicians and they have actors, but
Nice.
there's so many more things going on than that. It's just the character building is extraordinary. The world building is extraordinary. The direction, everything is just fantastic. I love the show. It's one of those shows where I'm like, will there be a new episode soon? And I hope it's coming soon, because it just takes too
Ah,
long.
okay.
It's just, yeah. Even there's like the actors are amazing. It's just, yeah. It's an amazing show. I keep saying amazing, but it is. I don't know what else to say about it. It's fucking good.
Cool.
I think that it's definitely worth watching. Don't be put off by the fact that it's post-apocalyptic, because that's kind of like almost anecdotal to the show. It's about people, and it's about how people deal with tragedy, and how, and that's, maybe this is one of the reasons that it sort of speaks to me more. It's about preserving art and preserving, beauty.
Culture and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
it's like,
Yeah.
why are we doing this? Why are we trying to survive if all of this stuff this is the reason we were trying to survive, because this is, beauty in the world, rather than, in the face of all this death. The premise also is like a flu, which is, topical, I guess, kills
Oh, well,
like
there you go.
90% of the people. But there's some really harrowing stuff, and it's just like, it's so good. And I was sort of like, what is this about? But I gave it a shot. And because I like Mackenzie Davis, who's like sort of the main character,
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah.
she plays the adult version of Kirsten, and then there's also a girl who plays her as a little girl too, which is she's extraordinary. They have like, it's so funny when you see like real professionals. It's like they have each other's mannerisms, down, and they don't really even have it. They only have like one scene together in the entire show, but it's like, and plus Mackenzie Davis's character is a badass. She's like fights with knives and shit. It's like all kinds of cool shit. But anyway, Station 11, HBO Max.
Okay.
I want to read. I'm sorry I never read the book. I feel bad because I think the book would be amazing. So I'm still gonna go back and read it. But it's just cool. And
I've been meaning to check it out, so I definitely will now on your recommendation.
yeah,
So.
there was last week's episode was just like, almost, I don't know. It's hard to describe, because there's been a lot of shit going on in the world, as we know. It was so, I guess cathartic is the word, maybe. And it was just all the things that were happening in the episode. I was like, wow, this is really emotional. And I felt like real emotion while I was watching it from a TV show, Joe. So it's just, it was cool. Oh, and the other thing I want to mention, Lori Petty is in the show.
Oh,
And it
nice.
was cool to see her. I was like, oh, it's fucking Lori Petty. That's awesome. And she's great.
Tank Girl.
Yeah,
Yes.
she's great in it. But I would say that if you haven't watched it, you should definitely watch it.
Okay. I will.
And Dave Cross, Enrico Colantoni, Danielle Detweiler, who was also in your favorite Western of all time. So
Oh, well, there you go.
you go.
Okay. I'm
yeah,
sold.
watch it. It's great. That's my pick, Station 11. So
Awesome.
yeah, so find the Flickcast at Spotify, at Apple Music, Apple's podcast. Yeah, not Apple Music. We're not there. We're gonna have a theme song someday, maybe.
We're not quite there yet, but hey,
Podcast. It's
maybe.
a podcast. Do. That's terrible.
It's a Flickcast. It's a podcast.
It's about stuff nerds love. Boop boop boopy doo. There you go.
It's a must-cast.
There you go. See, that was it. That's beautiful. That was wonderful.
There we go.
Preserve that needs to be preserved in the post-apocalyptic world. We need to preserve that theme song.
Yes, we do.
Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, all the places you find podcasts. Joe and I are on the socials at Joe is at What Joe Writes. I'm at Chris Yu, and then on Instagram I'm at Ulrich Pix, and then of course the Flickcast is at TheFlickcast, and then we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TheFlickcast if you want to throw a few bucks.
Wow.
Hey man, it's a Monday night. I don't know what I'm doing. So I got like 3 hours sleep last night because, school anyway.
Perfect. Well, let's keep talking. Audacity tells me I can still record for another 1,000 hours.
How exciting. 1,000 hours.
So there we go.
Because what people need is another 1,000 hours of this. So, but so that's it. Anything else you want to add? Or are we good?
No, I think we're good.
Cool.
So,
all right then. So
we'll see what happens on The Expanse. I can't wait.
That's right. It's The Expanse. Thumbs up. So for Joe Dilworth, I'm Chris Ulrich. That was the Flickcast. Thanks for listening.